I would say some of his comments are quite fair. And did not necessarily agree with his comments, but it would be good for us to take note of his comments. He mentioned on politics of punishment. This is difficult to prove, but people on the ground may see certain elements of politics of punishment, but there is surely politics of compensation. The biggest example would be the 14th September speech by Prime Minister Datuk Najib, thanking the Malay and Bumiputra for supporting Barisan Nasional. I mean, there's no way to deny it because it was stated as such. The other thing that he did not mention, which I would like to allude to, but I wouldn't spend time on it, I think is politics of dependency, which is still happening. In the context of blame, in the context of other things that was also mentioned in Meredith's book, under money politics. Politics of dependency is when you sort of, I know this is also very difficult to be proven scientifically, but you can see certain things happening in certain ways, otherwise, this is a political science term. Politics of dependency is when you want people to be dependent on you through gifts in kinds or in cash, so that you will forever be dependent. But I agree with him in totality on the need for us to agree on principles for de-alienation. Otherwise, that's the reason, one of my reasons why I think we need an UAC. We really have to look at the principles before we agree on the other. Numbers are not necessarily very important sometimes, except when election is really on. Why I say BN must take cognizance of his comment is because, yes, it is true that the opposition is solid. They are more organized and they are going to be more organized. Secondly, their second tiers seems to be much better than the second tiers of Barisan Nasional. You only have to look at the members of parliaments. You have Nurul Rafizi and many others in Pakatan. You have Chintong and Tony Pua and OK Man and many others in the AP, and of course you have Mujahid and a few others in PAS, but you have not that many in UMNO and Barisan Nasional. So that is the fact as it is now. So we have to be. He mentioned about the more vibrant with the ground. I think we are on the same page on those points. But coming to the delineation of the new constituencies, I think we should also encourage. I know UMCDL is trying to do something. Also, I know Ideas and Merdeka Center is trying to do something. I think we should really support the work of these three organizations because they are non-partisan, they are serious, they are very passionate. They could strike that balance that we are in dire need of when it comes to this process. We have two R&R here. One is Rafizi Ramli, the other one is race and religion. Thank you, sister, for your question on the question on the race and religion. I think before the GE13, I can understand people looking at the end. It's like we are really going to the center. Our pronouncements, our speeches are like we are very centrist, that we are moderates. And then there was this worry that prior to our internal party elections, then some people tend to be moving to the right. And when people ask me, I say, please bear with this internal politics, but I think it went beyond party politics. People are looking at some other issues, and the Jais rate and the Comango issue in particular did not make the 2014, or at least the beginning of 2014, or rather it add to the trepidation and anxieties of people as they move or as we cross into the new year. The National Unity Consultative Council, which is formed by the Prime Minister, in our first meeting on the 6th of January, at least managed to come up with quite a decent statement saying that we regret the Jais raid. Yeah. Yes, I agree. Not many other people spoke on this one. It so happened that on the same day, the Prime Minister, in his address to his office, spoke about the need to defuse the situation. He calls for he calls for calm. Oops, wow. ini semua senior melihat. He called for people to be calm, and he used two very important words in his speech, that is true dialogue and the rule of law. I would like to imagine that perhaps, because the situation now is that the Herald may want to go and appeal. I would like to imagine that someone out there is trying to negotiate, and if there is a possibility, which I will support, that we can come up with a decent consent judgment. I think that's the legal word. Because the reason is very simple. The Herald have all the right to go and appeal, but that will take us another 6 months talking about something when we should be addressing something much bigger, and that's how I look at it, like the cost of living, and so on and so forth. I'm not saying this is not important, it is important, but there is a way out if both sides of if the government and Herald wants to do it. But definitely the Jais is not helping, yeah. And we hope there will be no more raids. My column in a few of the non-mainstream papers repeated the NUCC comments and I was writing as CEO of GMM. On the Comango issue, I think this is another thing that we don't need. This is almost similar to the former Minister of Home Affairs, which happens to come from the same school. It's difficult lah. When he announced that Bersih was illegal, it's almost the same thing. You can announce Comango illegal. Comango don't want to be legal in the first place. I mean, Comango is not an organization. To the best of my knowledge, they don't have an intention to register in the first place. It's just a platform, and it was a platform. It's a specific objective for the UPR process. And even if they go on, it is, well, of course, there's no harm, no problem with that. Now, if we were to look at the Comango demands, there are 63 of them. Now, you may have, some of us may have difficulties in harmonizing or understanding or appreciating maybe 4 or 5 of the demands. But even then, there are at least 50 others which the government should have implemented in the first place. So, which means to say, if I can say it in another way, if only the government have, for instance, where there are the 10 lists of things that we used to say, if we have done the National Human Rights Action Plan, if we have signed the rest of the International Convention, if we have debated Suhakam's report in Parliament, if we have formed the Parliamentary Select Committee on Human Rights and blah blah blah, probably Comango may not even exist, or even if Comango exists, it's only for 5, 6 additional demands. One of the demand, or 5 of the demand, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe a cluster of the demand under Comango, which is very easy. This is the Orang Asli's demand, which is the simplest of all. Though they don't ask for it, but one of the things that we should have done earlier on, the government, is to appoint an Orang Asal to be the Director General of the Jabatan Kemajuan Kebajikan Orang Asli. There are more than a dozen professors. Mind you, I was Deputy Minister of Higher Education, I have the numbers. Yeah? There are more than a dozen Orang Asal who are with PhDs. Now, you don't need a PhD holder to become the DG of JKOAS. There are hundreds of graduates with masters and a first degree. They can easily fill. I mean, I'm not saying that if we do that, then the rest of the orang asal's demand will not be there, but I'm just saying that there are many things that we could have done earlier, before the UPR process 2013, because there was already the UPR process in 2009, and among Comango's demand is why is it that the government has only fulfilled 23 of our promises upon the comments by many countries, member states of the UN after at the 2009. So it's a very straightforward demand by Comango, and I hold the opinion that we should not, the government should have not have declare Comango illegal. The problem here, my brothers and sisters, is about the worldview. Some of us may be very harsh and divisive in the way we look at things. Some of us choose to be more wise or appropriate and inclusive in our way of looking at things. So I think the moderates must really speak up and try to, for lack of a better way of saying it, drown the voices of the extreme.